Jovan, Buha! Buha!
Yo, I'm Jovan Buha, NBA reporter for Buha's Block, and welcome to another live show. The Lakers won 101-94 to take a commanding 2-0 series lead over the Houston Rockets. The most important number I can share from tonight is that LeBron-led teams are 32-0 in playoff series when he has a 2-game lead in the series. So that's either 2-0 or 3-1. Obviously, if you win the series 4-2, you have won the series. So whenever LeBron has had a 2-0 series lead or a 3-1 series lead, his teams are 32-0 in those series, have never blown a series lead. So you don't want to jinx it, but I want to state that LeBron has obviously been here before, and he is, we could debate whether he's the GOAT. I think he's the playoff GOAT. I think that has been played out throughout the course of his career. And when he has a series lead, he does not give it up. And I think that is something to be very confident in coming out of tonight's game. The Lakers held the Rockets to under 100 points for the second straight game. They forced KD into a playoff career high tying 9 turnovers, held him to just 3 points in the second half after he scored 20 points in the first half. LeBron was the best player on the floor again. Luke Kennard dropped the cool 20 plus again. And if game 1 was the Luke Kennard game, game 2 was definitely the Marcus Smart game. He set the tone from the jump, diving on the ground for loose balls, ball pressure, picking KD a couple of times, several times on and off the ball, taking charges, charge attempts that should have been charges that sometimes went against the Lakers, especially in that like third quarter stretch. But big threes from Marcus, a couple early, that corner 3 late, that was a backbreaker for Houston. Just might have been Marcus's best game of the season, which is saying something based on how well he's played. But now the series shifts back to Houston, and it's hard not to see the Lakers at least splitting in Houston. I'm not going to go out and say they're going to sweep the Rockets, but they have controlled both games in nearly their entirety. They didn't have as big of a lead or as long of a lead. In game 2, they only led for 80% of the game compared to 93% in game 1, but close to 2 wire-to-wire wins for the Lakers. And they have not been the prettiest wins. These two teams have set basketball back somewhere between 25 to 30 years. It looks like mid to late 90s to early 2000s basketball with these box scores, with how much physicality and fouling is going on, with some of the turnovers and the shot selection and whatnot. But that all does not matter because the Lakers won both of these games. And the excuse from game 1 of no Kevin Durant, Rockets are without their best player, he's the fulcrum of the offense. He came back and he did some great things, especially in that first quarter. Also had a pretty good second quarter, but from that point on, the Lakers shut him down. He had more turnovers in the second half, 5, than he did points in the second half, 3. So just a defensive masterclass from the Lakers, and really felt like a continuation of those 2 games in Houston, where Houston did not figure out LA's doubles and traps and zoning up against KD. And KD just kept passing into traffic and kept passing into a thicket of arms in the paint and making the same mistake over and over again. And all of his turnovers were a combination of him just being a little loose with the handle and guys reaching in and poking it away, often Marcus Smart, or him trying to thread a needle that just wasn't there. And I think we saw in the battle of the battle of the elder statesmen, there's levels to this. And I thought LeBron was not only the better scorer and more reliable offensive option, but clearly was the better passer and decision maker as well. So just a great win for the Lakers. I think this one is even more impressive than game one, just because KD was back. Houston was supposed to be the most, the more desperate team. The Lakers matched, as JJ said after the game, the Lakers matched their desperation, if not surpassed it. And for the Lakers to be the team that was treating this like they were down 1-0 or they were down 3-0 and needed to win to save their season, that to me bodes well for the rest of the series. It is now, from the Lakers' perspective, it's a best of five, but really the Lakers just have to win two more. So it's almost more of a best of three, where they just have to win a couple more here. So job's not finished. That there are still potentially up to 5 games remaining in the series, but so far the Lakers have led for 173% of the 200% of the series, and that's notable, right? Like, they have really been in control of this series. It's been close, but the key to me has been the Lakers defense against the Rockets offense, and how outside of the barrage of jumpers that KD hit in the first half, which that's just part of KD, that's what he's going to do. Houston does not have a reliable action, a reliable offensive option in the half court. And they were able to turn the Lakers over a little bit. They ramped up the ball pressure at times. They got out in transition and scored. They continued to hammer the offensive glass. But I don't, like, through 2 games, I still think Houston's offense is aimless. I don't understand why they tried to attack the Lakers in the exact same way every single time with KD, and they just refuse to adapt. And we'll touch on that with Buha's big picture, but just a lot to be encouraged by, a lot to really like from the Lakers side. And they are in the driver's seat. There's no denying that. Like, they were still 6-point underdogs going into tonight. They were still massive series underdogs. I don't see how you come out of this game and don't consider them the favorites. And I said after game 1, Lakers in 7, but I think I undersold them. This is looking like probably a 5-game series right now with how things have played out through the first couple of games. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to the late night gang. Appreciate you all. All right, let's get into the breakdown. So Buha's big picture is the Lakers stymie Kevin Durant for a 3rd straight game. And so, I mean, again, this felt like a continuation of those 2 games in Houston, where the Lakers started blitzing Kevin Durant and forcing the ball out of his hands, and Houston struggled to score in 4-on-3, 3-on-2 opportunities. And this just was, I mean, again, it was almost like a carbon copy of that. I would even say on steroids here, because this was a playoff game that Houston should have been preparing for this. And for how they were going to defend KD. And they looked just as clueless and just as helpless as they did in the 2 games in Houston. And really, their solve for this was like, let's just put KD as a decoy and like not give him the ball. Like, that was the way they had the most success. He had the one drive late where we had the little runner over Jackson, but the only time they were able to like find some success was like, let's just park KD over here and have him be a decoy. Anytime they involved KD in the fray, it was either a turnover or a contested jumper, or someone with Houston either missing a layup or turning the ball over or taking a bad shot with an advantage. And that, I will continue to hammer this. I said, like, my big question for the Rockets going into this series in my series preview was, could they capitalize on the advantages that the Lakers were going to allow them? Because the Lakers are taking a gamble. Like, most offenses, if you guard a star player the way the Lakers are guarding KD, there are plenty of teams, like I think about OKC, or I think about Minnesota with Ant, or I think like teams with this type of perimeter play. We could also flip this and say, like, teams have tried to guard Luka this way. You then go into a 4-on-3 situation and you pick them apart. And like, I think a perfect example of this was they threw a soft double at LeBron. I believe it was right before halftime. And LeBron immediately fires the ball to the corner. And you saw the guy, like very similar to how the Lakers have attacked Kevin Durant at times. You saw the guy cheat over and then eventually commit and be like, all right, I'm going to charge LeBron. And the defender charges over. LeBron hits Rui with a laser in the corner, and Rui cashes a wide open three, because that's how you should be attacking a double, especially a telegraph double that is coming from so far away. But it's a credit to the Lakers for continuing to throw the same pitch defensively at the Rockets, because the Rockets can't stop it. If you've got a fastball and they can't hit your fastball, keep throwing the fastball until it breaks them. So a testament to JJ and the coaching staff, Nate McMillan, and the job they've done. Also a testament to the players and their execution and the rotations out of that. I thought Rui continued his defensive success after what he did in game one, whether he was the doubler on KD, sometimes switching out onto KD, but also his backline rotations. Like, there was just a lot to really like. Obviously, Marcus wreaked havoc. LeBron had some success, and DA at times, Jackson at times, like Jake LaRavia, Vando playing KD physically and just being a nuisance. Like, Jake picked up a bunch of fouls against him, but you live with that. You want a role player coming in and trying to rough up a star. Vando was fouling him every 3 seconds, and it was just like, they're not going to call every single one of them. So I thought the Lakers' game plan, their approach, and their defensive execution, like, that has been the thing that has stood out. Like, we could look at some of the shot quality stuff, or again tonight, didn't shoot the ball the best at 46%, but did shoot 46% overall, but did shoot 46% on threes, which was enough to give them some breathing room there, a bit of a gap, because Houston once again won the possession battle. They took 17 more shots than the Lakers. They had 17 offensive rebounds. Part of that was the free throw disparity. LA was +9 in free throws compared to Houston. So that swung that. If we're actually looking at like real scoring opportunities, that's probably closer to maybe a 13 to 14 field goal gap, which I think is notable coming. Like, Lakers almost cut the possession deficit in half compared to game one, which is why I think, despite them shooting worse and not scoring as much offensively, they were able to survive because that possession gap was closer. Like, the two keys going to the series were offensive rebounds. They held the Rockets to 4 fewer offensive rebounds. And then turnovers, they forced 2 more turnovers from the Rockets, and then they turned the ball over 5 fewer times than last game. So a 7 turnover swing in that margin, and then cutting down 4 offensive rebounds. So that's an 11 possession swing compared to game one. Houston still got up 89 shots. The Lakers only got 72, which is a pretty low number, but Lakers won. So you live with it, with the free throw shooting and the 3-point shooting, and again, the better ball security. But I just don't know what Houston's doing, and I think the Lakers are exploiting that. And on the one hand, I think the Lakers' game plan has been brilliant. The execution. I also, I'm just flabbergasted with the Houston approach and Houston continuing to try to do the same things. Like, I thought they made some smart adjustments, and some of these things they started to do late in the fourth quarter of game one. But they started having a lot more like interior passing in some of those angles where there was often a guy running in the dunker spot to dunker spot, and hoping to cut, where if the Lakers, like, sometimes the Lakers would leave that open or not be paying attention to the guy relocating, and they got some nice back cuts and drive in and dump offs in that configuration. But other than that, I mean, the biggest changes they made was, they added KD, which he set the tone from the jump with the block on Luka Kennard, and you just felt his presence. He had a big first quarter, big first half, and he was great through the first 24 minutes. But I mean, it was a big shift in their rotation where they kept Josh Okogie in the starting group. Tari Eason played a bit more, and then Reed Shepherd went from playing 36 minutes in game one to only 11 minutes in game two, which I think is a win for the Lakers based on his combination of ball handling, passing, and shooting. We've not seen much of those 3 things through the first couple games, and that's, again, a testament to LA's defense. But Reed Shepherd, if you're comparing him to the other options of like Clint Capella, Aaron Holiday, Jayshawn Tate, he's a much more talented and gifted and skilled player compared to those guys. And the fact that, and even Josh Okogie, and the fact that he's being phased out of this series is a credit to LA and their game planning and attacking him so frequently in game one and also attacking him in game two during his brief shifts out there. So, I mean, Houston, I said it after game one, Houston has a lot of problems. Houston has even more problems coming out of this one. And I just don't know. I mean, there have been some subtle things that they've done where I think the safety valve guy on the weak side has come up and like they've brought the spacing up a little bit more with some, but like they're just not, they're missing open shots, which maybe that changes a little bit in Houston. But it's still the turnovers, the inconsistent shot quality, and just the lack of rhythm and flow. And it just feels like a lot of guys are being put in situations where if it's not in KD or Şengün's hands, and even Şengün has had a rough series, and that's a testament to the Lakers' big men primarily, but also guys digging down and doubling and rotating. It's just that you don't have a lot of confidence in their offensive possessions. And I think the Lakers still have a lot of room for growth and a lot of margin for error on the offensive side. And I think they'll continue to get better on that end. But Houston, like I thought we'd see some bigger adjustments from them in this game. The fact that we didn't, and the fact that, especially after the first half that KD had, they did not expect the Lakers to shade over more aggressively. Because the way this worked was in those two games in Houston, a lot of the issue was anytime there'd be a ball screen, the Lakers would blitz it, they would trap it, and KD would have to retreat, and then he'd throw a turnover, or they would have some sort of advantage that they wouldn't really capitalize on. Tonight, what they tried to do was a lot of pin downs and DHOs to get KD the ball. So it wasn't a direct, they did have some pick and roll with KD, but it wasn't as direct of bringing a man over because they didn't want the Lakers to be able to double and trap him. And it was sort of like, can we get him off a pin down with an advantage and then he could go into his jumper, or can we get him with the DHO situation? But the DHO situation was functionally a pick and roll, right? And that allowed that defender, often someone defending Şengün, to pop out and be big and force KD to retreat, or it would just turned into a lot of late shot clock situations for the Rockets. A lot of KD having to expend energy of he's trying to play this cat and mouse game where whoever's the primary defender on him, you're trying to fake left, go right, but he's not really getting open. And then there's another guy cheating over. And I think right now, Houston, I mean, they're just in a tough spot where they can't really put together a dynamic and dangerous offensive group that has proper spacing, and the Lakers can't help off of at least a couple of guys, if not multiple guys. And then like defensively, they almost always have a duck out there, whether it's Reed Shepherd, Alperen Şengün, who Lakers really did a nice job of exploiting him in the pick and roll. He got dunked on a couple times off of lobs. And then Clint Capella, the Lakers played off the floor, which is something I talked about last night for those who checked out the great Western Forum episode that I did with Pete and Anthony. I talked about, like, in the season series, they did not trust Clint Capella, and the Lakers progressively played him off the floor in those two games in Houston. That's immediately what happened tonight. He only played 5 minutes. The Rockets were -9 in his 5 minutes. Like he was completely unplayable. Like he can't do anything on offense, and defensively he's playing with cinder blocks on his feet. So he's just not playable. And I think Houston's gonna have to lean into only Şengün plus small ball, which is what we saw in the rest of the non-Capella minutes. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what Houston's going to do. I think for the Lakers, we're going to talk through some of the game 3 adjustments, but you keep throwing this pitch at them because they keep swinging and they keep missing, and they keep falling for the same pitch. And it's just, you keep hammering an advantage until you win the series. And I thought the Lakers did a great job of that. Like, even rock fight in the third quarter, like there's a lot of similarities between game 1 and game 2, where great first quarter for the Lakers, good start to the second quarter, then a disastrous end to the second quarter. Lakers go up by 15 a couple times. Houston ends the second quarter on a 17-5 run. Similar thing. Lakers are coughing the ball up left and right, struggling against ball pressure, can't get into any flow offensively. And then third quarter is just an utter rock fight. Neither team can make a shot. Neither team can make a pass. It was like the ugliest quarter of basketball I've seen in the playoffs, at least. And then fourth quarter, LA just out executed them. And we could look at LeBron breaking free for that dunk, for a couple dunks. I mean, he had the reverse double pump, which is just insane. But then also the back cut for a dunk late. You had Marcus Smart hitting the big three. Jackson had some big defensive plays. Luke had a big jumper. Like, it's just, Marcus with his defense and a couple of big defensive stops. Like, the Lakers just out executed Houston. And that was another thing I talked about in the series preview. It's like, in a close game, I have no faith in the Rockets, and I have the ultimate faith in the Lakers. Like, and we saw that a couple times in Houston, and now we've seen that in a couple of games in this series. So the Lakers are now 4-1 against the Rockets on the season, including the regular season. They've won 4 straight against them. They've won with Kevin Durant. They've won without Kevin Durant. And Houston, it just feels like right now they're stumped. And I'll continue to reiterate the point that feels like the Lakers are playing chess and the Rockets are playing checkers right now. And until that changes, Houston, like, you see that there's a talent gap between the two sides, and that, like, the defense, the motor, the athleticism, that is keeping Houston around. But in terms of the details, in terms of thinking the game, and in terms of execution, the Lakers right now are in a different class than the Rockets, and they are winning those battles and those margins. And that is why they're up 2-0. And I think going to win this series. In terms of notable performers, I will share my screen here. We have to start with LeBron James, who, again, 32-0 in series where his team takes a 2-game lead. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 8 for 20 shooting, 2 for 5 on threes, 10 for 14 at the free throw line, 3 turnovers. Another awesome LeBron game. I thought the big thing with this game was he was not as efficient as game one. Game one, 9 for 15 shooting, and I think only 2 turnovers. So, not as many assists, more turnovers, not as efficient from the floor. However, he still controlled this game with his physicality, with his post play, and he still was the son of the Lakers offense that everyone was orbiting around. And I thought the physicality in particular, with the 14 free throw attempts, LeBron's first time attempting double-digit free throws since January. We're going back 3 months ago was the last time LeBron got to the free throw line 10 plus times. And we've had the conversation before about LeBron and not getting the best whistle at times and not getting to the free throw line as much as he should. And that is a component here. But I thought LeBron just controlled this game from the post, from the mid post. He did have the ball in his hands even more than game one, at least eye test wise. I'd be curious to see like the usage and just time of possession and whatnot. But at least it felt that way to me. And I thought an interesting sort of battle within all this was KD and LeBron were matched up against each other a ton. And LeBron did a great job of getting KD into foul trouble. I think at least 2 of his 4 fouls, if not 3 of them, came directly against LeBron at various points of the game. So LeBron was getting KD into foul trouble, but then he was also attacking Tari Eason, attacking Ahmed. Like anytime he had anybody it was anybody, whoever was guarding him, he was attacking them and drawing fouls and drawing help and then picking the Rockets apart out of there. But I also liked his aggression offensively. Like I said, coming out of one of my adjustments out of game one, going into game two, was I wanted LeBron to take ideally 20 shots, but I was like at least 18, somewhere in the 18 to 22 shot range. Like I like the egalitarian approach offensively where everyone's involved. But I thought, he's LeBron. He's their best offensive option. And just him being at 15 shots, I felt was a little low. And so I like that he ended up taking 20 and was far more involved from a scoring and attacking perspective in that sense. But nearly a 30-point triple-double for him. Played 22 out of 24 minutes in the second half. I thought it was interesting that JJ only played him 17 of 24 minutes in the first half. And then he played the full fourth quarter. He took a breather sort of like midway through the third, came back, and then I was expecting some sort of breather for at least a minute or two in the fourth. Played the entire fourth, played 22 of the 24 minutes in the second half. So he did a lot of what he did late, gassed and running on fumes, and he pushed through and he still made big plays. And that back cut for the dunk was a huge play, but just so many great things from him. And now for the series, he's averaging 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 10 assists, and shooting 49% from the floor. So he's been playing great basketball as not only the Lakers' number one, but the clear best player in this series, in my opinion. I don't think it's close between him and anybody else. And I mean, that's a big reason why the Lakers are up 2-0. Then Marcus Smart, I talked about it a little bit earlier, and I am going to touch on it a little bit more in one of my takeaways, but 25 points, 7 assists, 5 steals, 1 block, so 6 stocks. It's a monster number of stocks right there. 8 for 13 shooting, 5 for 7 on threes. Marcus Smart, magnet ball, 4 for 5 on free throws, and 3 turnovers. And Marcus, during some of the rough offensive stretches, Marcus is often at the center of it in terms of throwing the ball away, or just can have questionable decision makings at times, but a clear net positive on both sides of the ball. I really liked his confidence and aggression. I think like part of the Rockets game plan, and we saw that shift a little bit with the starting group, was they switched Josh Okogie onto Luka Kennard. They put, they fluctuated between Jabari and KD on LeBron and Rui, but I guess Jabari was starting off on LeBron, and again, they were switching a lot, but it was some combination of Jabari and KD on LeBron and Rui, obviously Şengün on DA, and then Okogie on Kennard and Amen Thompson on Marcus Smart, but using him a little bit as a roamer and a helper, and also having him just go under screens and dare Marcus to shoot. And he shot early and he made them. And he's not going to go 5 for 7 every single night, but he went 5 for 7 tonight. And he's been a much steadier shooter post the turn of the calendar year, and just huge plays offensively. But I thought it was the defense that set the tone. And that first play of picking KD, diving on the ground for the loose ball, hitting it to a cutting LeBron, who then gets the sort of like, I think it was like a layup dunk. It wasn't quite like a full dunk, but laid the ball in. Might have been a dunk. I don't quite remember. He had a couple of those because he also got fouled on one early. But that play set the tone for the game for me. And it had been a little bit like KD hit a few jumpers early in the crowd. The crowd was great, by the way, but like the crowd was a little bit on pins and needles of like, oh, like this, they were missing this, right? They were missing the 7-foot guy who could make any shot. But Marcus, I thought, brought the fight, brought the force, brought the intensity, as he's done all season. But the Lakers needed some of that tonight, and I thought he gave them that spark early, and then again delivered late with some big steals, deflections, that corner three. Again, arguably best game of the season, in my opinion, for Marcus Smart. I think you can make that case. Luka Kennard, 23 points. They made some adjustments against him, where they put Josh Okogie, who I thought did a solid job, all things considered. But Luka Kennard, Marcus Smart shot like Luka Kennard today. Like he just needs a sliver of space to get his shot off. And I thought I liked him still being aggressive. 8 for 13 shooting, 3 for 6 on threes, 4 for 4 at the free throw line, 23 points overall, 6 rebounds. So also helped on the glass. 3 steals himself. I thought he was getting into the passing lanes, getting, poking at live dribbles, and just back to back. Like now he's averaging 25 for the series, doing so on great efficiency. I think we saw, so he had a couple turnovers that he got a backcourt violation and an 8-second violation. And he just had the unenviable task of trying to dribble against Amen Thompson. And that's not going to go well on some possessions. But I thought they targeted him a little bit early in the first quarter or trying to get him switched onto KD or Şengün. But I thought he held his own for the most part defensively and just is playing great basketball right now. And having all three of those guys drop 20 plus, they carried the Lakers offense. Then Rui, 13 points, 5 for 10 shooting, 3 for 6 on 3. So you had 4 Lakers starters hit at least 2 threes, and 3 of them hit 3 threes, and they all hit big momentous shots. But Rui's defense again didn't have the stocks to back it up, went from 5 stocks to 0, but I don't think that was reflective of his defensive performance. I thought him shading over against KD, sometimes switching out to him, sometimes being the primary matchup on KD, and also some of his baseline rotations. I thought Rui played a really high level game in 13 points, 5 rebounds. So played 43 minutes, once again, led the team in minutes, but better showing on the glass for Rui. I think the couple things with him that I would like to see change moving forward would just be, he's had a couple of these, it was a turnover in game 1, it was not a turnover in game 2, but he has a couple of these where he almost makes up his mind that he's going to take the shot and then the defender contests it, and it almost becomes a jump pass. And so he had one in the left corner in game 1 where he goes up, the defender's right there. He realizes it's either going to be short or blocked. And then he tries to fling a pass while he's coming down. And it's just a bad read. That got picked. Tonight, that got deflected out of bounds. So the Lakers still had the ball, and he kind of got saved by that. He tried to throw an entry pass into DA, but I think he's got to be, if you're committing to the shot, take the shot. If you don't think you're open, or you see that, I think he's got to have maybe a little bit better awareness in those situations. On the flip side, I also think he could shoot even more. I think that would be something I'd like to see, where I think there's been a couple times he's turned down open to semi-open shots. And so I just think the reads there could be a little bit sharper in terms of this guy's draped on me, I probably shouldn't go up for it. Or if I am, at least let it fly. Don't try to change your mind midair and then throw a pass that gets stolen or deflected. Or if you're open, semi-open, just shoot it. That would be my only thing with him. But the defense has been, I think, back-to-back game. Last game was his best defensive game of the season. This one is on the short list for next best defensive performance. And then really mixed bag with the bench. One of the things I was tracking, and I don't know the final number here, but across the two benches, both teams combined for 16 points off of the bench. And on the Lakers side, quickly here, they went 1 for 8 off the bench. And then on the Houston side, they went 4 for 25. So some quick math, that is 5 for 33, something like that. So around 12% or in that range. That's just that's awful bench play offensively from both teams. From the Lakers side, Jackson Hayes. Oh, I didn't mention DA. DA, 6 points, 5 rebounds. I overlooked that. Did not close the game. I thought there's some elements of his game that were good tonight, some elements that were not as good. I thought overall the motor and the focus were not at the same level that they were in game 1. This was not as locked in and dialed in of a DA game. He did have a couple of lob dunks, and I forget his third field goal, but the hands were not quite there tonight. The 3 for 8 missed some point blank looks, and I think one of them he got fouled on and they just didn't call it. But just the 5 rebounds in 27 minutes and the turnover, I didn't think he was quite the same player. I will note though, I did really like his one-on-one defense against Şengün. I think he's done a great job against Şengün and just being big, contesting, keeping his arm up, and not ceding much ground off of Şengün's spins and his different moves. I think DA has been prepared for that. I think the Lakers scouted that well, and he has done his job with that. One thing I will note, I haven't seen anybody talk about this, so I don't know if this has already been discussed, but from my vantage point, because I'm sitting in the media seats got changed where typically I'm in 108, which is on the visiting side, but they got rid of that section. It's all fan seating now. And so I'm sitting on 117. So I'm directly behind the Lakers bench. And one thing I noticed with DA was that when he got subbed out, I want to say about the 5-minute mark or so, because Jackson closed the game over him, who I'm about to touch on in a second. The body language was not good, and I was, say, a little disappointed with it. And there were several times where guys like went over to him to kind of cheer him up. And I get being frustrated, like it's human nature. You get pulled from a game, you're not playing your best basketball. It's human nature. But there were several stretches where there was a timeout and everybody's in the huddle, everybody's like engaged with one another, and he's off to the side. Or late in the game, everybody's standing up. He's on the end of the bench, just not even really engaged, like kind of sulking and looking down. And everyone's clapping and cheering and amped up that they're about to go up 2-0. And he just didn't have the best body language with that. So I get the human element of you didn't play your best game after a great game one. You're an impending free agent. You got benched down the stretch for Jackson Hayes. But I felt his just attitude could have been a little bit better in that sense, and not being as much about him and how he performed, and more so about the team and them closing out the game. So I rarely get on a soapbox like this, but I was disappointed by that and observing that from the bench. But in terms of the bench, Jackson Hayes, I thought similar to game one, played a much better second half than first half. And first half was kind of quiet, but did have some good. I think one thing he's done a good job of against Şengün, and maybe some of he's put on somewhere between 10, 15 pounds, dating back to last summer, was he just stayed big and kept his arms up, and it was like just kind of trusting that the help was going to be there, the shrinking in against Şengün was going to be there, and that if Jackson just stayed big and kept his arms up, he was going to contest him and alter that, those shots. So he had a couple blocks, if memory serves, directly against Şengün on post moves. And it wasn't like Jackson was using the volleyball spikes that he's capable of doing. It was more so just sound positional post defense, and then being big and leveraging his length and size and athleticism there to defend that. So he had 3 stocks off the bench, played 21 minutes, closed the game, there was the controversial play, or one of the controversial plays, 3 minutes left. It's Şengün. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's Şengün. It's like a loose ball. Şengün grabs it, and Luke immediately ties him up, but they award the timeout to the Rockets. Lakers are furious. Like the entire bench comes onto the floor, and they were fuming about that. But the Rockets get the call. There's 3 seconds left on the shot clock. They go into a deep seal post up for Şengün, and Jackson just stonewalls him. And he had a couple of those plays. He got to the free throw line, and I thought there was a glimmer of like what Jackson can potentially do the rest of this series. And you saw it reflected in the minutes where he played 13 minutes in game one, 21 minutes tonight, closed the game. And if he continues to defend like that and play with that energy and force, also led the group in offensive rebounds with 2. And to a man, the Lakers did a much better job of offensive rebounding. 8 of the 9 players who played grabbed offensive rebounds. And the only one who didn't was Bronny, who only played 3 minutes. So if you put him aside because he only played 1 shift, anyone who played 2 or more shifts grabbed at least 1 offensive rebound, which is a testament to the margins and LA faring better there. Jake LaRavia, I would say I thought he was solid defensively, and I mentioned it earlier with the fouls, and like it did partly put the Rockets in the bonus. So there was some of that, but I liked how he was competing. And I think sometimes he gets a rough whistle with his off-ball defense in a way that other players don't. However, and he did tweak something late. I don't have clarity as of right now, and I haven't seen anything on his injury. He ended up exiting the game, and he had done it before he airballed that open 3, but he airballed an open 3 and just has not been an offensive factor. I feel like he's not even looking at the basket right now. And I think this has been like the worst version of him offensively. And again, the defense, like the Lakers need defense and they need guys to be innings eaters, but JJ's clearly he's cut down on the bench minutes a little bit. Jake only played 16 minutes. Vando only played 14. Bronny only played 3. And then Jackson played a little bit more, but it was more so leaning into the starters, leaning into the offensive side and just like the defense that the starters were giving. So Jake, I mean, they won his minutes, but I would like to see more offensively from him in particular, and then continue with the defensive aggression. But, I had 2 turnovers as well. So it's like, it's tough when you have as many turnovers as field goal attempts and more turnovers than points. It's been rough on the offensive end. Speaking of rough on the offensive end, Jared Vanderbilt, it was rough. Missed the layup, had a couple of open threes he missed from the corner, but I thought his defense against KD, like he was really bothering KD off of the ball, and he did a great job against Houston in that Christmas game. Then the Lakers went away from him in the 2 games in Houston. I would like to see them play him a little bit more. I understand the offensive concerns, and I think there's a limitation and just like a ceiling to how much JJ will ever play Vando. I've been beating that drum going back to last season. Vando and JJ are oil and vinegar. It's just not a great match. And we saw that, I think, boil over with the OKC situation. But Vando, 5 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. And I thought I liked his rebounding and just his defensive force. And I would like to see him play a little bit more than the 14 minutes. And then Bronny came in, had a quick shift once again, missed a floater that I think was technically fouled on. It ended up being looked like a blocked air ball, but on the replay, it looked like a foul, at least in the arena, and then had a ball handling turnover. I would say if it seems like Bronny's going to be a 1-shift 9th man. If that's going to be the case, I do think they should at least explore potentially a Maxi Kleba or Nick Smith Jr. shift as well, just to buy some time for some of these guys. But I also think we saw right now, the only 3 players who should be bringing the ball up are LeBron James, Marcus Smart, and Luka Kennard. I think Bronny with the ball pressure is just still an area that he struggles with, and he got picked in the backcourt by Aaron Holiday. And I think if you I think putting him on Aaron Holiday, and even if it's 2 shifts in the Aaron Holiday minutes, I think that's going to be fine. Aaron Holiday was jacking pull up off the dribble threes against pick and rolls. I was a little surprised by that element of Houston's offense. If that's how they're going to play that, then I think Bronny's fine just sticking him on Aaron Holiday, and that's a like for like matchup there. But offensively, I think handing him the keys to the offense, or at least even initiating the offense, I'm a little wary of right now based on what we've seen when he faces ball pressure. And that is it for the notable performers. In terms of stat of the night, I've already mentioned the 2 stats of the night, but 32-0 when LeBron teams take a 2-game lead in a series, and a playoff career high tying 9 turnovers for Kevin Durant. All right, let's get into the 3 takeaways, and then we'll get into the Q&A. Takeaway number 1 is the signing that changed the Lakers season. So last game, we talked about Luka Kennard and the trade that changed the Lakers season, but I think the Marcus Smart signing, that similarly to the Luka Kennard trade, continues to age like fine wine. I said it at the time. I've said it throughout the season. To me, he is the DFS successor, and he's even better than, he's clearly better than the current version of DFS, who is a DNP CD now in back-to-back games. And talk about what the Lakers got from DA in game 1, what the Lakers have gotten from Marcus Smart in a couple of these games, contrasted with DFS. That has aged very well on the Lakers side. But to me, he was the spiritual successor of last year when DFS came in. You saw an immediate rise defensively from the Lakers and a newfound identity, and his ability to protect the rim and switch across multiple front court positions defensively allowed LA to start to test out this new small ball identity. Then they eventually make the AD Luka trade, and Luka fits into that perfectly. And you see that group go small a lot, and they have a lot of success DFS was leading them in plus minus. He had dramatic on-off splits defensively. And so Marcus comes in, and Marcus is at an even higher level than what DFS was doing. Like different players, ultimately, Marcus is more of a guard. DFS is more of a big wing, but Marcus he can wear all these hats. He has been a point guard. He has also shifted now to being more of a wing. He can defend multiple positions. He can bring the ball up the floor. He can shoot. He can pass. He can dribble. And he's just tough as nails. And I feel like he took the baton from DFS and did it at an even higher level, and has led the team in plus minus all season, has been the most impactful defender on the team all season, has been the best defender on the team all season. In my opinion, has been the fourth best player on the team all season. And I think back on really the first, like, what Marcus can do, welcome to Marcus moment, or just kind of previewing what he could impact with this group in a playoff setting, was that Spurs game on November 5th. So we're going back now almost 6 months ago. What he did in that game, just his ability to, fouled out Victor Wembanyama, took a giant charge on him, had the inbounds turnover, and has had a couple of those moments throughout the course of the season. And that's really the only knock on him, is sometimes the shot selection and the turnovers. But his shooting stabilized in January. He has been between high 30s, even into the 40s from a 3-point percentage perspective. He has been steady. I think if he started the full season and was available a little bit more, I think he would have gotten some all defense consideration. There's plenty of defensive metrics where he ranks in the top 10, and his candidacy flew under the radar, similar to clearly several Lakers with awards. So I just think this signing, I think all the signings have panned out to the degree of like expectations and contract. And I think DA has outperformed his contract. Jake has been about the value of what you would want from a $6 million wing. And Marcus, I think, has provided more than like triple his value. I mean, he's making $5 million. I think you could easily make a case he's performed like a $15 to $20 million player. I don't think that's, out of line. Like he's been that great. So Marcus tonight, just setting the tone all season with the defense, being the defensive leader and captain. And like, there's all these little things with Marcus where he's constantly harping to the team that sets the terms of engagement physically is the team that is allowed to be more physical. And so I think that has seeped in with the group. I think you've seen some of his tricks with sometimes he'll let a guy get by him just to poke the ball loose. And that has infiltrated a lot of the team. The charges, like Austin has been among the league leaders in charges before, but you've seen several guys who don't normally take charges, take more charges. And I think he's had a big part in that. Also bigging up DA. He's constantly hyping up DA, and not only hyping him up off the court, but hyping him up on the court, trying to feed him the ball. I think he doesn't have as many reps with DA in terms of feeding him, because the ball is often in Luka's hands, Austin's hands, LeBron's hands. So Marcus is clearly fourth in that pecking order. But I would posit that his ratio of passes to DA compared to his overall passes is probably higher than even those three guys. And it's because he knows the importance of trying to feed DA, and like that he's taken that on as like one of his side quests, one of his side missions of the season. So I just think we can't calculate how important Marcus has been to this season, but it's been, forget a home run. I think it's been a grand slam. I mean, that dude making $5 million, like, are you kidding me? Like, it's insane the value that he has provided on that contract. And he's going to be a free agent this summer. And I think the Lakers have to re-sign him. I don't know what that number is going to look like. I don't know what that contract's going to look like, but whatever it is, I think that should be a huge priority for the Lakers. I know he's up there in age. I know he's dealt with injuries the last few years, but that's not a dude you can afford to let walk through your door. I think the Lakers have to retain him. Takeaway number 2, game 3 adjustments. I'm not even sure what the Lakers are supposed to adjust, to be honest. Like, there's some things with, again, the rotation. I think I liked Jackson playing a little bit more. I would like to see Vando play a little bit more. I would like to see them maybe test out a new ninth guy because I don't think the Brody minutes have been like bad necessarily, but I don't think it's just been unclear what they are hoping to achieve with him out there because again, if it's just getting guys a breather and being more of an innings eater, okay. But I don't think there's been like the impact that they would want from that ninth position ideally. So if I would be open to testing out Maxi Kleba or Nick Smith Jr., or maybe you keep Bronny in the same shift, same role, and you just add another guy, but for a brief shift. But I think having only 8 guys getting multiple shifts, I think is a little low. I think whether it's adding a second shift for Bronny or just a second shift for another, or another shift for another player, I think they could use collectively another shift that reduces the minutes a little bit for the start. Like, I don't know if Rui can play 42 and 43 minutes every single night. Maybe he can. They do have a little bit of breaks between these games, so maybe JJ's kind of trying to unload the clip, get the 2-0 lead, and then start to reduce the minutes a little bit. But we'll see. I would say quicker timeouts. I think in both second quarters of these first 2 games, JJ let those runs get out of hand. I think at one point in this second quarter is a 12-0 run until JJ called a timeout. I think he's got to have a quicker trigger than that. He also let the Rockets kind of get back into the game in the fourth quarter for a stretch there, where I think they got it to like 4, and then they actually ended up calling the timeout. I think he needs to be a little bit quicker with some of the timeouts. I also think they got to change up the second quarter group. In terms of like the second quarter group, same stretch of the game, both games has been a disaster. And part of that is the group, that middle portion without LeBron before LeBron comes back in to close the quarter. So I think they got to be better with that group and, I don't know, swap it a guy or two, because what they've been doing has not been working. I think continuing to target the 3 entry points. They're going to target Şengün all the time, but if they're going to play Reed Shepherd and Clint Capella, as Ime has seemed to indicate he is reluctant to, it's attack those guys and make Ime second guess that. With Capella, actually, it's probably a positive for the Lakers if Capella's out there. With Reed, though, the shooting, the ball handling, the passing, it's so limited with this group that a guy who could do a little bit of that, you just would rather have like a Josh Okogie or a Jayshawn Tate out there, or someone far more limited. So I think if they could play Reed Shepherd off, that's a win for the Lakers. And then continue to attack KD defensively. I think getting him in foul trouble was a little bit of a swing there, where I thought he actually had a pretty solid defensive first half and was leveraging his length and was doing his best to try to chase guys around screens and rotate and whatnot. But like his length makes up for a lot of things. Like even that Luke Kennard block first possession of the game, he was kind of off of Kennard and he just lifts his arm up and he's 7 feet and he's got that wingspan and like he blocked it. So I think the Lakers making KD play on his heels defensively can also tire him out. I thought he was a little tired defensively. And then I think the Lakers just have to keep throwing the same pitches defensively, like pack the paint, swarm Şengün, send the doubles and rotate out against KD. Like until Houston adjusts or shows they can competently and confidently score out of that, you keep throwing the same pitch, as I've been saying. Offensively, I think the balance, like it did feel like that it wasn't as balanced as game 1, but in terms of just, it really funneled far more through LeBron, Luke, and Marcus. And it might just be how it has to be. Like I do like the funneling more through LeBron, but I feel like Rui and DA could maybe get a little bit more involved offensively. But that we're talking about nitpicks here. Like I don't really have any substantial takeaways. I think they got to continue to chip away at the turnover battle. They got to continue to do their best job possible with the defensive rebounding, but feels like the rotation is pretty close to set in stone. It's just a matter of how many minutes guys are playing. And the offense has been ugly, but it's worked. The defense has been encouraging and it has also worked. So as the team up 2-0, I don't think you stand pat or rest on your laurels or get complacent, but it's also like I don't. I mean, I'll have to probably rewatch. I'll do a rewatch tomorrow, and then we'll talk through some more adjustments. And then takeaway number 3 before we get into the Q&A, quickly, Luka and AR updates. So we got an ESPN report earlier in the day that the Lakers are not expecting Luka Doncic to return in this series, and Austin Reaves has actually progressed ahead of Luka and is now doing one-on-ones in practice and is potentially going to be able to return by the end of the series, although we'll see how long this series even goes. JJ was asked about it pregame, and he said that Austin has started his return to play protocol. He would not divulge what that entails, but we got the report from ESPN earlier, and he said his timeline and timetable has not changed. He said Luka will be returning to the court soon and starting his return to play protocol, but his timeline and timetable have not changed as well. So make of all of that what you will. But shout out to the chat. Let's get into the Q&A here. First one from Karl Marx. Thank you for the super chat. LeBron James, the working man's GOAT. I like that. The the working man's GOAT. Shout out to Carl here. I appreciate the super chat. Second one from Jamie. Thank you for the super chat. I'm no longer going to call you J Earth. I know now that it is Jamie. Went from hating Marcus Smart in Boston to him legit being one of my favorite Lakers this season. He's simply a winner, such a fun player. Yeah, I mean, he's on the short list for just favorite Lakers I've covered over the past 6 years or 6 years. I mean, I love watching him play. I know sometimes, I think Bill Simmons coined it when he was in Boston. He was a no yes player, and there are some times where he takes some no yes shots and makes some no yes decisions. But I mean, dude's just a winner. And like, it's no surprise he's dealt with the injuries he's dealt with when you see he's laying it out on the line every single night, regardless of, even when the Lakers are up 20, it doesn't matter like what the context or down 20, it doesn't matter the context of the situation. If Marcus Smart sees a loose ball, he's going to dive on it. If Marcus Smart sees somebody driving to the basket, he's going to take a charge. That's just how this dude plays. That's just how he's wired. And I mean, he did a great job on KD tonight. Like, yes, a couple times KD scored over him or shook loose and got downhill and scored over the next line of defense. But he also picked him multiple times and was tracking him around screens and just disrupting things and just playing great basketball. So yeah, Marcus is a winner, and he's awesome. LeBron like he's KD. Soft hedges, soft doubles at LeBron. I'm like, do you not know who you're dealing with here? Like this dude will pick this apart, and that's not the spot to double from. I think if you're gonna double, you got to try to double from the post and then load over and zone up. But even then, LeBron will find something on the weak side. But I think doubling LeBron, like, you can double KD in the middle of the floor. You cannot double LeBron in the middle of the floor. If you give LeBron a chance to court map and figure out where the opening is, he'll pick you apart, even at 41. And then Jamie again, thank you for the super chat. Low key, I knew we were in for a treat when Braun hit us with the "it's back to the old ways" at the end of the regular season. GOAT emoji. He's been incredible. I really don't like, because he's not even like incredible for a 41-year-old. Like, I think that goes without saying that he's incredible for a 41-year-old in year 23. We've never seen someone be this great this deep into their career, but just straight up, like, he's been, I think, in that top 5 conversation just as a playoff performer through these first few days of the playoffs. At a minimum top 10, but right there on that top 5 borderline. So I mean, he's been great. Cage Britt, thank you for the super chat. Was at the game tonight. Love this team so much, man. That turnaround, and like, I think there was elements of this. Like, the first 20 games were great. The 15-4 start. I've talked about like the 3 segments of the Lakers season. They have the 15-4 start. starting with December 1st, they have this 3-month malaise basically where they go 19-20 up until late February. Then starting with that New York game, and I guess you can maybe throw in a couple, like they had the Golden State win, the Sacramento win. So there's the prolonged stretch of going 16-2. Like, I mean, the style of basketball changed a bit, particularly on the defensive end. But just it became so fun. There were times in the middle of the season where it was a chore, or it was just not fun basketball, or they got their butts kicked a lot of times. And then to see them rattle off so many statement wins in March and really rise to the moment in a variety of ways. And that was the other thing that stood out. They won in a bunch of different styles. They won low scoring, high scoring, in the clutch, blowing teams out, having a big third quarter, having a big second quarter. Like they just won in all these different ways that they had not done consistently over the first 2/3 or so of the season. And I mean, yeah, and then they've just carried that through. And even without Luka and Austin, they've missed the beat. It was kind of funny. Post game, LeBron said that he's like, not to beat a dead horse, but those are 2 big horses that we're missing. And yeah, they're missing a couple of big horses, but they have a big horse right there with LeBron, and Marcus and Luke have stepped up, and they've been. I'm going to end the horse analogy here, but you know what I'm saying? Like, those dudes have been playing like number 2 and number 3 options, and it's been awesome. So yeah, I mean, I think the resiliency, the fight, the spirit, like that's another component here that this group has had, and frankly, they've had that all season, outside of some of those like brutal blowout losses. So yeah, I mean, this has been a really fun team, a really fun season. Cammy, thank you for the super chat. Do you think we need 110 to 115 points to win in Houston? I think 110 to 115 points will get the win in Houston, because I don't know if Houston's going to be able to crack 100 points, to be honest. I mean, they're due for, if we pull up here, I'm curious. Let's see if the expected shot quality is up from this game. Might be. Probably is. No, it is not. Is it? No, it's not up yet. So I can't compare. Like, I think Houston has underperformed with their shooting. I think it's fair to say that. I don't think that's not like a slight to the Lakers or a knock on the Lakers. Like, I think the Lakers have contributed to that in a big way. And certainly the turnovers and the Lakers, where they've been sending the help from, where they've been shading over from, and the constant bodies and rotations has contributed to a lot of Houston's offensive shortcomings. But there is an element of, like, I mean, they've airballed threes. They've missed point blank layups. Like, some of this is self-inflicted. But again, sometimes when you speed a team up or get them uncomfortable, like, it felt like, especially in that second half, it felt like every possession, like, knowing the context of you're about to go down 2-0 if you don't go on a run here, if you don't regain the lead, it felt like every possession had such gravity for Houston, and they just didn't really know how to handle it. And it felt like the moment was a little bit too big for them. So I do expect a better counterpunch. Again, there were some little tweaks that they made that had a positive impact at times. And this was technically a more competitive game than the first game, and KD obviously made a big impact there. But until they figure out how to handle the doubles from KD, and I also think from LA that they threw a lot of it from the beginning too. I think they actually did a poor job initially of, like, the point of attack, or because sometimes they'd run in action to get someone else switched on to KD, then they'd try to attack out of that. And I thought initially the Lakers didn't do the best job of keeping him in front of the initial line of defense and allowing the help to force him to retreat or give the ball up. And so he was able to have some quick rip throughs and drives into pull-ups that's his bag. You can't stop that. So I think Houston should shoot better. They have shot 40% or worse through the first couple games. Now, their offense is a bit anemic, and it is what it is. So I'm not expecting like fireworks in Houston, but I think they will have like one game where they hit 15 plus threes probably. They're kind of due for that. And so, yeah, I think one of the games will probably be like, I think about that second game in Houston in the regular season where, the first one was a rock fight, right? Like LA won 192. I think the second one they won 124, 116, 124, 117, something like that. So I think they're capable of having a big teams play better at home. That's just a fact for the for the most part. So yeah, I think they'll have one game where maybe they get into that 110, 115-ish range, and the Lakers will have to match that. And then I think there'll probably be another game that's closer to what we've seen, where more of a rock fight, first to 100, first to 105 wins the game. So I think it'll probably be, and it's just on the Lakers to win one of those. And they've already shown they could win that latter way of the rock fight, but the Lakers also have the firepower to win the other way. The Billy 0304 took, thank you for the super chat, took Ime 7 quarters to put Tari on Braun. LOL. Rui playing great D. Finally, JJ should play 9th man if they aren't losing the minutes. Give rest to starters. Yeah, I mean, he played him a little bit he might have just gotten switched on to him. But I'm pretty sure he played him a little bit in the fourth quarter of game 1 on him, but he had it might have been a switch. I would have to look through my notes, but he did bulldoze him. And like, that was something that I think was evident that, I mean, LeBron just has a physical match. It's a physical mismatch against any Rocket. And that to me might just be the most important thing in this series, is that I don't think they have a player who is a great matchup for LeBron. Like, I think he's too strong for Tari Eason. I think he's too strong for Amen Thompson. I think he's too strong for Jabari Smith, too strong for KD. He is too quick and athletic for Şengün, and probably too strong for Şengün too. If you want to put Clint Capella on him, too quick for him, and probably too strong for him. Then even Josh Okogie's actually maybe held up the best in terms of like the post battle. And he's like a fire hydrant where, he's like 6'4". So compare that to LeBron, he could kind of get under him, similar to how Marcus can sometimes attack guys in the post. But then you're 6'4", and you don't have the size or the length to contest and disrupt LeBron. So I feel like a lot of what's happened with LeBron through the first couple games is really just a matter of, does he make the shot? Does he convert? And there's a couple drives tonight, a couple of post moves where I think Tari might have even blocked him. Someone blocked LeBron. I'm pretty sure it was Eason. And they had a couple of nice contests on LeBron late. I think he was pretty gassed. Again, he played 22 of the 24 minutes to close the half. I think they should have given him a breather in the middle of the fourth. JJ pretty much went, I think he went to the starters with like 9 or 10 minutes left in the fourth. And then the only sub that he made the rest of the way was taking out DA for Jackson. So he not quite the game 4 blueprint, but it was a cousin. It was in the same neighborhood of game 4. It just really rode the starters out after they played heavy minutes in the third. Like he basically just leaned into the starters, which I do think the schedule right now is playing into the Lakers' favor from that regard, in terms of being able to play guys heavier minutes and then getting a couple of days off in between. Like tomorrow will be a rest day. They'll practice Thursday and then go to Houston. So yeah, I mean, my bigger thing with Ime is you closed with Tari Eason over Josh Okogie. You played Tari Eason more minutes than Josh Okogie. Why is Josh Okogie starting? Like, I don't want to, this isn't the hill I'm going to die on or willing to die on, but it just feels, I'm like, I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not seeing, but like Josh Okogie's fine. I think though for the Lakers, I think he'd be in a similar Vando Jake role with Minnesota. I don't even know if he'd be playing. Maybe he'd be a fringe rotation guy. I don't think he'd be playing in San Antonio. I don't think he'd be playing in OKC. I don't think he'd be playing in Denver. So it's like, I just think you have this like fringe rotation guy who, for some reason, you've thrust into this starting role. And Tari Easton's just legitimately better than Josh Okogie at like basically everything, at creating his own shot, at finishing, better offensive rebounder, taller, stronger, more athletic, quicker, better defender. And Josh Okogie's a non-threat out there. So I don't get what they're doing with that. And yeah, I mean, he might be the best option on LeBron, but LeBron has also gone through him several times. So I don't know if that's the solution for Houston necessarily, but you have to pick somebody to guard LeBron. So maybe you go to Tari Easton and put him on. Although I thought Josh Okogie did do a good job on Luke Kennard, like relatively. Rui, I agree on the defense. And I agree on JJ playing a ninth man a little bit more, that second shift, whether it's another player and you're technically playing 10 guys, but it's more so two guys are playing like one shift. But you got to find a little bit more time for the starters to take a little bit more of a break, at least deeper in the series. Brian, thank you for the super chat. I called Luke and Marcus each winning us a game, but not Luke having two great games. How long can he keep this up? Shout out Late Night Gang. Shout out Brian. Well, you are Nostradamus here. You called it, and you were right. I mean, there's really no reason to not expect Luke to keep this up. Like, I mean, he is shooting probably, let's see, for the series. For the series, he's shooting 65% from the floor and 73% on threes. So I will go out on a slight limb here and say he will not shoot 65% and 73% on threes. Now, a series is a small sample size. It is at most 7 games. So randomness happens and a player can get hot and shoot above their norms. But I mean, based on who Luke is, I fully expect him to shoot at least 50% for the series, at least 45% on threes for the series. And so I think some of the efficiency will dip a little bit just from a shot variance regression perspective. But I mean, he's been great. He's averaging for the series 25 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists on 65, 73, 80 shooting splits. I don't really know what else you could ask from him. I mean, if you look at here, like post Luka Austin, so yeah, the Dallas game didn't shoot well, but got a triple double. The OKC game, 10 points to 9 assists, but like that was an odd game, no LeBron. But then from that point on to close the season, like the Utah game, he only played 11 minutes. But if we look at the Golden State Phoenix games, gets 33 points across the 2 games. So that's 16.5 points. Shoots above 50% or better in both games. 50% on threes, goes 3 for 6, and 3 total rebounds, 11 assists. So I think that's where he'll stabilize. Is he going to drop 20 every game? I mean, he might, because I also think the way that the usage is being divvied up right now and how important of a weapon he is for LA's offense as this movement shooter, but also playmaker who can fly off DHOs and screens and get downhill. And I think we saw this a couple times this game, like the threat of his shot, they try to run him off the line. But then what happens is when you're closing out hard, you got to keep your footwork in terms of like you got to not like foul the guy, but then you also can't close out too aggressively where you get too out of the fray, because ideally you close out, keep the guy in front of you. Maybe he gets a quick step on you, but then you can recover and rear view contest. Otherwise, what's often happening is they're running Luke Kennard off the 3-point line, but they're pushing him into a pull-up mid-range jumper, and he's money from there, right? So it's not as like efficient of a shot as a Luke Kennard 3-pointer necessarily, but he's just cashing wide open pull-up mid-range jumper after wide open pull-up mid-range jumper. And one thing it feels like Ime Udoka has been willing to live with and willing to test with the Lakers is some of their mid-range shooting, some of their pull-up stuff. And the thing is, like, go back to the first 20 games of the season. Remember, the Lakers were having a historic shooting stretch from the mid-range, and they were shooting like around 60% as a team. That was not going to sustain, and it did not sustain for the season. But basically, it was like almost every player in the rotation was having a career year from the mid-range. And I don't think that's going to sustain the rest of the series necessarily, or even into the next round. But all you need for it to sustain for 4 times in 7 games. And yeah, so I mean, I think he's going to continue to play well. Like if they couldn't shut him down in this game, I mean, I think they could target him maybe a little bit more defensively and maybe some more of the ball pressure. We saw him bringing the ball up a couple times and some turnovers there, but I mean, they just can't stop him. They don't have any way to defend him, and it's been remarkable to watch. But yes, shout out to the late night gang. Gary's saying, thank you for the super chat. Loved Lakers' effort. Laravia got to shoot with confidence, even if he misses better than a turnover. Whoever Amen is guarding should not bring the ball up. Agreed all around. The effort was awesome. I thought their effort, they largely matched Houston and even surpassed them for stretches. Agree on Jake. That was a point I made during his section of the show. And yes, whoever Amen is guarding should not. Like, that's the guy, and it is sometimes going to be Luke, but that's the guy that you just have to not have bring the ball up. Like that's the one dude. It's the elite safety, and you're like, all right, we're going to use this dude as a decoy in terms of at least bringing the ball. It doesn't mean the player has to be a decoy for the entire possession, but it's great. Thank you for the super chat. And remember you from the Lakers Collective chat. Late night gang in this thing. I like that. 2-0 and healthily headed to Houston. Let's go Lakers. Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing would be, I'm curious, Jake's status and sort of what, if there's any update on that. JJ didn't say anything. Quickly checking if, so I don't think he spoke with the media tonight. But yeah, it might have been something with his ankle. I'm not sure. But other than that, yeah, the Lakers are fully healthy, aside from the biggest side of Luka and Austin. And 2-0 series lead, like far from over, but in a great position, protected home court. Mint Millions, thank you for the super chat. Silver creating more parity in NBA, which is great. Yeah, I mean, this is a fun night. It was a night of, well, it's funny that the Lakers are considered the underdogs, and that was an upset again, but the Lakers technically were the underdogs from a Vegas perspective and pulled off the upset. You had Portland, brutal blow there with Wemby. I'm sure many of you have already seen the video. If you haven't, if you get a little queasy, it was a tough one. It was a pretty hard hit he took to the face on the hardwood, and hope that he's okay, but exited the game with a concussion, and that does potentially put his game 3 status in doubt. And we saw Portland have a big comeback in that second half and close out that game. And then Philly took it to Boston to even the series. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a really fun playoffs to start, like with the exception of OKC, BTA to Phoenix. They're 17.5 point favorites in game 2. That's a monster number, even for a 1-8 matchup. But Lakers Rockets, 2 close games down the stretch. Nuggets Wolves has been the series of the playoffs so far. Spurs Blazers. Spurs won decisively in game 1, but it was a very close game 2. How about the Pistons and that series, and Orlando pulling off the upset? Detroit doesn't have the same physical advantages over Orlando that they do over basically everybody else in the East. Cleveland, Toronto's been pretty one-sided. Cleveland's been in control. New York, Atlanta, though, that was a crazy end to that game 2. And then Boston blew out Philly in game 1, but then lost in game 2. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty fun postseason. I'm really excited for the future rounds as well. Like, I think second round, conference finals will all be great. But yeah, it's been a great start to the postseason. Mikey's going through it. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you for being a member. Lakers collective basketball IQ between their players, not all 15, and coaching staff must be highest in the league. Other very high basketball IQ teams is basketball IQ, Pelinka's roster build philosophy. Buha. Yeah, I mean, I think it's up there for sure. I think with JJ, we just needed a little bit more of a sample size, right? Like, this was his second playoff series, and I don't think the first playoff series went the way that he or anyone else wanted it to go. But he still did do some smart things in that series and make some good adjustments. But I think even he will admit that was not the way that he wanted that series to go. But I think we've seen the regular season. He's done a great job of maximizing the group's ceiling, regardless of who's been available. In both of the teams he's had have taken on different identities, partly due to trades, partly due to injuries, and just who's in the lineup, who's the number one, who's the number two, who's the number three, etc. It's changed multiple times over the past couple of years. So he has, I think, managed personalities well. I think he's managed rotations and lineups, and then he's also, I think, coached his ass off, particularly on the defensive end. I think that's been like the stretch that they had last year, particularly, but even that March stretch and what they were doing defensively. I think he's found ways to have like great opponent specific game plans. So I think JJ's bringing a baseline level of IQ. You have several of the coaches on the coaching staff have won championships, been to the finals, been to the playoffs for decades. And particularly looking at like Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan and Bob Byers. So like they have plenty of experience on the bench. And then you have LeBron James, the player who has literally played the most basketball in NBA history and is clearly one of the smartest basketball players to ever touch a ball. You have Luka Doncic, who is a basketball prodigy and savant, and his basketball IQ. You have Marcus Smart and his defensive basketball IQ. So I think that just the top of the hierarchy with the Lakers, I think Luke's a really smart player. I think like they just have a lot there. So yeah, I mean, they're up there. I think, I think there's a correlation to some degree in terms of like the best teams to me are also often the smartest. So I think, for example, OKC is up there from a basketball IQ. Like I think with them, it's more so the defense, but I think similar to like the way you'll see LeBron and Luka court map and dissect the defense, I feel like that's how OKC's defense is against offenses, where they're all in a string, they're all in sync, and they're like, these sharks that are smelling blood in the water and attacking, but they're also like an octopus where you cut an arm off and you're like, oh, let's take this guy, move him over here. Well, then someone's rotating and they're just wreaking havoc everywhere. So I think OKC's up there. I would say, I think Denver's up there. I think San Antonio's kind of unproven with their, which Johnson's just a young coach and they're being led by a third-year player, but I think they have like the institutional or kind of franchise IQ. In the East, Boston has the championship experience with their head coach and some of their best players. And then Cleveland, I think Mitchell and Harden are like, I know about playoff Harden. You don't need to remind me of that. But I just think like that's like they've had a tactical and surgical approach to this Toronto series. And I've liked how they've attacked. But like, yeah, I mean, I would say the Lakers are definitely in the top three, if not, you could argue for them at number one. I think that's give like a little nod to I still think Spo is arguably the best coach in the league, or at least top three. So I would give Miami like a little bit of a nod, mainly because of Spo and some of their institutional success. Golden State with Kerr and Curry, right? But yeah, I mean, the Lakers are definitely, I would say, in the top three, and you could argue for them as high as number one. And like that's, I mean, I'll say this: it's a Grand Canyon size gap between them and the Rockets. Like the craziest thing that I don't even think I've talked about on here. I did an ESPN LA interview last night and talked about it. The fact that Ime Udoka came out after game one and said, we knew that KD was going to be out for 2 days. And we slow played it with you guys. We didn't let you guys know. We listed him as questionable. We knew he was out. The fact that he said that and that was their game one game plan, that was all I needed to know with this series, because it was like, if that is how you approach this game, they approached it as if they found out 2 hours beforehand, oh, KD's a late scratch. He's out. Like, we got to figure things out on the fly. It was like, no, they had 2 days to prepare, and that was their game plan. And then they've had over a month to prepare for this tonight in terms of KD against the Lakers defense. And look out what. So, I would say that their collective IQ is respectfully, I would say there's a gap there. What does it matter, bro? Thank you for the super chat. If Jake is just going to play scared and stupid, we might as well try a do, LOL. So, I'll just say, like, that's just not how this works, right? And I know people, I try to keep things realistic in terms of, I know people have wanted a bigger role for Vando, and I've tried to temper expectations of just like, because earlier, going into the season, I was like, it's between Marcus and it's between Rui. And a lot of people were like, no, it's between Marcus and Rui and Vando. And I was like, JJ does not view Vando in that same light. It's a competition between Rui and Marcus, and Rui got the first crack, and then Marcus ultimately replaced him. Yeah, I think it's similar with Adu. JJ's had multiple opportunities to test Adu out during the course of the season. Like, yes, he's had injuries, been the same injury, been in and out of the lineup, but he's also had plenty of opportunities to try Adu as a rotation guy, and he just has not. And he does not. And JJ, anytime he's been asked about Adu, he always adds in the qualifier. This is a development year. We expect this to take time with him. Like, we're grooming him for the future. So nothing JJ has said telegraphs that Adu is going to get a shot here. I think if anybody gets a shot, it'd be Maxi Kleba or Nick Smith Jr. But even then, like, not directly for Jake, just like in general. So I think Adu's probably ahead of Dalton in the pecking order. Dalton might be last technically in the pecking order. But aside from that, I just don't think he's going to play. Now, maybe Jake's minutes get reduced, and obviously, depending on what happens with Austin and Luka this series, that could swing things in terms of how much Jake is going to play. But even when he's not playing his best basketball, he still is playing more than Jared Vanderbilt, because he's 18 minutes and 16 minutes. Vando tonight was 18 and 14. So yeah, he's played 2 more minutes than Vando through the series. But I agree that Jake has to be more aggressive and assertive offensively. I think that's a must. So I don't disagree with that. I've just tried to temper expectations here that Adu is not going to have his number called, or I'd be very surprised if he did. Like, nothing JJ has done. There's been other situations where their back has been against the wall. It made sense to at least test Adu, and he didn't do it. So we'll see, but I am skeptical. Mint Millions, thank you for the super chat. Alternate universe, if either OG and Anunoby, Jaden McDaniels, or Kason Wallace is on the team this year, do they go to the finals? Well, I would say it depends on which player is on the team, right? Because I think you ordered them in the order of just like who's the best and overall impact, right? So I think like OG Anunoby is, for my money, a top 50 player, and back end of the top 50, but somewhere in that probably 45 to 50 range, just is all defense second team candidate, and I think is underrated. To me, he's their clear third best. Like, Mikal Bridges has been billed as their third best player, but I think it's been OG Anunoby, and some nights he's their second best player, depending on if Brunson is having an off shooting night or Cat's having one of his nights. OG can easily step up as the number 2. So OG, any one of these 3, I think, would start over Marcus. Maybe not Wallet. Like, I think Anunoby and McDaniels would clearly start over. I think Wallace. Marcus. If you look at what Marcus is doing offensively, like I know, I think Kason's like better defensively, but he's also smaller, and he's like a different type of defender. Like, Marcus, I think has, because of the size and the strength, is more versatility to his defensive game, or Kason Wallace is more primarily a backcourt defender for either guard spot. But I love Kason Wallace, to be clear. Like, I would have voted for him. He was on my all defense second. No, did I? I forget if I put him first or second team. He might have been first team for me. I think I did put him first team. I think he's that good in that, to me, arguably second best defender on OKC. It's between him or Caruso. That's tough. So if you take Kason Wallace off of OKC, that is hurting OKC. That's a big loss for them. you take these other guys, obviously it hurts other teams. If it's Anunoby, it's tough to say. I still think there's a big gap between them and like taking a step back, I still think there's a pretty big gap between them and OKC specifically. So if it's like the same matchup, I don't know if you just plot OG, like thinking about how the first quarters of those two games went in OKC. I don't know that just like plopping OG and Anunoby in there has like a 30-point swing. I think it has a swing, but he's also not necessarily initiating the offense against their ball pressure. And like that was really an area the Lakers struggled with. They just really could not get into actions and just run functional offense against OKC. So, I mean, I think this is more of a question to me of like, could they beat OKC? And I guess in theory, I think you would need like Luka to play much better than he did. I think you would need Austin to play much better than you did. I think you'd have to also potentially restructure the offense to play a little bit more through LeBron and his post game against some of their smaller guys. But I mean, I would say this, I would pick them if you had any of those three. I think assuming they're healthy and you're not taking anyone off. So you're just slotting Marcus Smart as a bench guy. I think I'd take them over San Antonio. I don't think I would not take them over OKC. I think they need maybe a couple of these guys. I would entertain it, but I still think there's a notable gap between the two sides. Ludo, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Brate, just something that's been on my mind for a while. You often say you have a connection with Jokic because of your Serbian roots, but you know Luka's dad is also Serbian, right? Yes, I do know that. I have spoken to Luka's dad before, and I do feel a connection with Luka because of that as well. It's something I talked about last season. We spoke a little Serbian. I don't know too much, but enough to hold a little bit of a conversation. So Luka's aware of that. And I think that was initially a bonding thing between us in terms of having the Balkan roots and specifically the Serbian roots. There's a whole other thing with like, you know, his dad and, moving to Slovenia and the Slovenian citizenship. And some people have gotten into it arguing whether he's Serbian or Slovenian, and that's a conversation for a different day. But I mean, I think even the like I see the Serbian side in Luka. It might honestly be the side that gets the technicals, and I know that that's how I played basketball. I was very fiery on the court. I'm mild mannered and chill here, but you get me on a basketball court and I want to fight everybody. So. Definitely. I'm aware of that. And, it's something that we've discussed. Pax Collector, thank you for the super chat. Greetings from Slovenia. Inject this into my veins. Might be too much to inject into your veins right now. The euphoria it's riding high right now. You got to be careful. But no, I mean, this is awesome. It's been very fun. Andre Miller, thank you for the super chat. If a team had ever given Kennard this role before, he'd be a $30 million guy without question. Front offices get it wrong a lot. That destroys true hoop dreams. It's, I mean, I don't know how to really counter this. Like, I think he's had, it's interesting that, it feels like he has been typecast a lot as just the shooter and, more like the JJ Redick type, right? Like, and I think that's a guy he's been compared to before, but I thought JJ was actually an underrated ball handler and playmaker, but nowhere to the level that Luke Kennard is. Like, and you also look at his pedigree. He was a remarkable high school quarterback in Ohio, which is also known for great high school football. So you think about that, and just, I mean, not that it doesn't always translate, but if you just think about what makes a great quarterback, and then you factor in his shooting, but then also that vision and that mobility and just the way you read a defense, that can translate to the NBA level, and we are seeing that. I mean, it's been he's playing great basketball. I don't know if I'd go that far with the dollar amount. I would like to see a larger sample size with it. It's still at most 7 games, right? If we're looking at the post Luka Austin era, I would like to see him continue this for the series and into the next round. But I mean, he's earning a lot more money. I think with each of these performances, whatever dollar, like it's going up $1 million or $2 million like each game, and you know, maybe it drops at some point if he has a couple off nights or not as efficient, whatever. But he's played great basketball, and I think it is shifted how the Lakers, because I think there's also a question here of like, what does this look like when Luka and Austin come back? Because I would assume Luka is going to return to the same usage. I would assume that I've argued, I think they're going to go more matchup based in terms of LeBron and Austin, of like who's the number 2, who's the number 3. Now, we don't even know if Luka or Austin is going to return. We don't know what state they'll be in. We don't know if they'll be on a minutes restriction. We don't know, are they 70%, 80%, 90%? Like, are they 100%? We just don't have any clarity or certainty on any of that. But I do wonder with Luke primarily, because he, I think, has had the most dramatic role change, but also to a lesser degree, Marcus, like, do you just go back to the original roles and kind of put the genie back in the bottle? Or are you now trusting maybe a little bit more of Luke? You're giving Luke, I don't think he'd get his own like unit, but I think you can maybe have a Luke and LeBron unit or Luke and Austin unit, and he's sort of, you know, co-quarterbacking a bench group with one of the stars in a way that I don't think he was ever fully empowered to do. But I mean, yeah, he's making, forget even like his previous contracts and role and stuff. He's making a lot of teams look bad in terms of like the cost it took to get him. And just think about how many other teams could have used this version of Luke on their bench or in their starting group, right? Like pretty much every team could use this player in their rotation, right? So yeah, I mean, it's again, shout out to the Lakers. Danica, thank you for the super chat. Great win. What do you think, Jovan? Lakers in blank. So I said this at the top. You might have missed it. I think my current prediction would be Lakers in 5. I think they probably split in Houston and then close out in 5. I'm like kicking myself because I really do not believe in the Rockets. And again, I said at full strength I would have picked the Lakers in 5, but I guess I even undersold or overlooked my lack of belief in Houston in my initial prediction. And I just felt like, I mean, and I felt like, because I picked Rockets in 6, but even within that, a lot of people were picking Rockets to sweep or Rockets in 5. Even my Rockets in 6 was like a more extended prediction compared to a lot of people, at least from like a national perspective or even covering Lakers. I believe both of the other Lakers collective guys picked Rockets in 5. Trevor might have done Rockets in 6, but I felt I was at least a little bit more on the optimistic side, and especially if Luka or Austin could come back in the series. But I thought the stretches we've seen in the second quarter and like a little bit of the third, I thought those stretches would be more prevalent. Like the stretches where the Lakers are getting sped up, they're turning the ball over, it's bad offense. I thought that would be more consistent through the first couple games. And for being honest, it's not like the Lakers have been lighting it up. Like they're averaging 104 points per game. So the offense has not been like great, right? And it can certainly, it has room for improvement. However, the defense has been amazing. And I think the part that I miscalculated the most was how terrible Houston's offense is, how terrible their offensive process is, how terrible their collective basketball IQ is. And obviously the KD situation, like I do wonder if KD is available for both games. Is it 1-1? Is it still 2-0? We'll never know what that looks like. But I mean, we saw tonight the Lakers still led for 80% of the game with KD there. So the Lakers have dominated these first two games. Like, it's been relatively close in terms of it's often like 6 points, 8 points, 10 points, 12 points. It's not like they're consistently leading by like 20 plus, but they've never really wavered or had a game in doubt yet. And so I would say my read on the series through the first couple of games is like they have had a couple close games. Lakers have out executed them. I could see another close execution game for LA, and then a game where maybe Houston has like a really hot shooting night or something, and they get their version of the Lakers' first couple wins where it's maybe a game that they kind of control. They win by like 7-10, but I mean I don't see how you don't strongly favor the Lakers. Like, if that was Houston's best counterpunch in a game 2 that they needed to win to not go down 2-0, like I mean, right now I'd probably say Lakers in 5. Bubba and the old man Auburn, thank you for the super chat. High usage Luke Kennard equals Steve Nash. From an offensive perspective, I do think there is like, if we're making the Steve Nash comparison, I think Steve Nash is in a different class as a ball handler and as a passer. I think Luke Kennard is really good in like tight spaces and he's got quick moves and footwork. But I mean, Steve Nash is one of the best passers of all time. I mean, arguably a top 5 passer ever. So, but I get your point. Like, I think there are some similarities and there are some similarities, especially when, like, remember Nash would have those games where he'd be uber aggressive and Nash would go out, get 30, 35, 40 on like very efficient shooting. And it would always, like, the talking point after the game would always be like, why doesn't Steve Nash just do this all the time? Why doesn't he shoot more? I think we've seen an element of that with Luke, where when Luke really erupts, it's like, why doesn't he just do this every game? Or why isn't he more aggressive? And to his credit, I think he's been aggressive in the first couple games. He's been playing great basketball, and I'll entertain it from like a scoring shooting perspective. I will not get there with the passing. I think it's multiple tiers between those two. King AD, thank you for the super chat. I think JJ was right to start Rui instead of Jake. His defense has been pretty good. I 100% agree with you, and I will take the L on this. I was on team start Jake. I took my victory lap multiple times for saying Rui should not have started over Marcus, and I think that was a mistake, and I think I was proven right on that. But I will also eat the crow with saying Rui shouldn't have started, saying Rui shouldn't have started over Jake. For me, a lot of it came down to, I talked about this in the preview, but a lot of the individual lineup data of Rui and Luke had been really bad defensively as a 2-man combo. DA and Luke had been really bad defensively. The trio of DA, Rui, and Luke had been outscored by 15 points per 100 possessions, was bad on both sides of the ball. So I had some fears with that. The Rui-DA pairing has not been good for most of the season. I had fears about that. And I just felt like that group needed a little bit more defense. But Rui has proven me wrong. He has played maybe his 2 best defensive games of the season. Definitely best was game 1. Game 2 is, again, somewhere in that top 5, top 3, I think, for the season for him. And he has been locked in. And I think most importantly, even if I think Jake's best defense might be better than Rui's, although Rui's got more physical gifts and more athleticism than Jake. But Rui's offense is obviously like the argument to me was it was more of an offense defense question of do you go with your 5 best offensive players and do you lean more into an offensive lineup and shooting, or do you lean into defense and have like Jake and Marcus out there for defense, and then you have Luke, LeBron, and DA out there for offense, and then Marcus too as a ball handler. But Rui's blended both, right? Like Rui's been a legit 2-way wing for the first couple games of this series. So he's been I still think sometimes the processing and some of the turnovers and stuff could be a little bit sharper, a little bit better, but he's been awesome. Like I really have no qualms with it, and I will own that I was wrong. that was the right call. Sean Tang, thank you for the super chat. Do you think Okogie and Eason are better than DFS? Right now, yes. Eason for sure. Like this version of DFS, not necessarily prime DFS going back to like his Dallas days or even early Brooklyn days. Yeah, I mean, I seeing Eason, he's kind of grown on me again these last couple games a little bit. The finishing is concerning. I will put that out there, and missing open threes. But I do like there is like a grittiness to his game and athleticism, and I think he's an underrated driver. Now he's got to get better at finishing and finishing through contact and finishing through contests. And they kind of wasted. If they had the Tari Eason game from game 1 and game 2, I do wonder how this game goes because he went 7 for 7, 2 for 2 on threes, and tonight did not. But we could play that game. If the Lakers get the Luke Kennard game from game 1 in game 2, then it's an even bigger win, right? So you can always play that game, or if you get the DA performance from game 1 compared to game 2, bigger win, right? So, but it was kind of funny to me that I felt like they wasted the good shooting Tari Eason game in game 1 when it didn't really matter. Okogie versus DFS. I'm pretty low on Okogie, but at least talking to some Rockets people pregame, I was asking them about Okogie and why he slots. He's been shooting the ball well. I think he shot 38% for the season on threes. Eason was at 36%, tale of two halves. Shot over 40% first 3 months, under 30% last 3 months. He evened out at around 36%. DFS, though, just talking to people, it sounded like he's a little cooked defensively and physically, and just they don't have a lot of confidence in his ability to help. I think they should have thrown him out there, but at least, once you're getting to like the Jay Sean Tate part and Clint, he should play over Clint Capella at this point. I don't think Clint Capella should play another minute in the series. Brate, Chuck Dangler, aka Fang Charlie, thank you for the super chat. Brate, a theoretical question for you. Who do you think has to get a biggest role change if and when Austin comes back, assuming that we move on to face OKC and Luka comes back? Who changes LFG Lakers? So I touched on this a little bit earlier with Luke Kennard, and honestly, I don't have a great read on the situation. I know that I think they'll go back to the original starting lineup, and it'll be what's interesting is I assume that if and when both guys come back, it's probably not going to be at the same time, and it'll be one returning to the lineup and then another one eventually returning. But it's really interesting because let's just say, because the reporting today and JJ talking about the return to play with Austin seems to indicate that Austin is actually the one who's closer to returning than Luka, though I think it's a very fluid situation, and we'll see how it develops. If we think about that, then it's so is Austin coming back? DA is going to start, LeBron's going to start, and Marcus is going to start. Those are 3 holdover starters. Then you look at how Rui's playing and having that size there, because remember, without Luka, Luka's the point guard, but Luka's also a 6'7", 6'8", 240 pound, 200, whatever he is, guard. So that's a pretty big dude in your starting lineup, just from a size perspective, to be missing. So Rui is a like-size player, so you're keeping some of that size. And then Austin's a little bit bigger than Luke, but they're relatively close in size and stature. If you put Austin in for Rui, you're now running a much smaller starting group with Marcus and Austin and Luke. But then if you yank Luke, it's Luke's playing such great basketball that's a pretty tough thing to pull that guy. So I'm curious. With Luka, they're not going to play any games with Luka. Luka's coming back and he's starting, and I would guess it would probably be for Rui, but I think it's between Rui and Luke. If it's Austin, they have had Austin come back a couple times and come off the bench for a little bit. So I wonder if maybe they do that for a game or two, but then the flip side is it's the playoffs, and I assume if Austin's coming back, that they're going to try to play him as much as he can handle. But I don't really have a great answer to that. I think with Luka, he would for sure start, and it's a matter of who's he replacing. I think it's between Rui and Luke. With Austin, I think they would want him to eventually go back to starting, which again is its own question of who he replaces. But maybe for some, like with him, they've slow played it a couple times where they brought him off the bench on a minutes restriction. So I could also see that potentially, but I don't have great clarity on that. I mean, biggest role change, I think it's going to be Luke and to, I think it's kind of the three primary guys right now. I think LeBron would have some usage dip. I think Marcus and Luke would probably have the biggest usage dip. And then I think Rui and DA to a lesser extent would also have some usage dip, but it depends which one of those two guys is coming back. Which one is, are they both coming back? And it's going, like, if Austin's coming off the bench, obviously you're still getting a certain amount of usage and role with the starters, and then he's being phased in. If it's Luka, I think it's a more dramatic phase or change with the starting group. But I think it's a good problem to have because OKC goes 12 deep, and I don't think. I mean, you're going to need Luka and Austin against OKC. You're going to need it all hands on deck. So ideally, you can find a way to like bottle up what Luke and Marcus have been doing, and they're going to have slightly lesser offensive roles. But can you keep some of that going with LeBron? He'll have to adjust to the shift but yeah, it's not ideal, right? Because I think I'm glad you're bringing this up because I don't think people are. I guess this is like the underbelly of this. Of again, you want I don't want to overcomplicate this. You want Luka and Austin back. Like let's make no mistake about that. But it is obviously going to change. Like there has to be some sort of adjustment period. Maybe there's not. Maybe they have a practice and iron out all the wrinkles and everything is great. But like just based on how the usage has shifted and the offense has shifted, and theoretically they'll play at least a few more games like this. Like it is going to be an adjustment of playing like a new style for a month and then having to phase back to a previous style. But again, it's a good problem to have because you want Luka and Austin back against OKC. That's not a matchup you want to be shorthanded playing 8 dudes and not having enough offense. Lester, thank you for the super chat. Ime on the huddle. Go hard on them dudes. Oh, man. Well, you got to add in some F-bombs. You got to add in some B's in there. But yeah, you're close. It's same vibe. Same vibe. Cammy, thank you for the super chat. Why are the game 3 odds Rockets minus 9.5? Is Vegas okay? I'm not going to advise anybody to do anything, but that is an aggressive line against the Lakers. Now, what I will note is I've talked about this before. With the lines, typically the home team is awarded 3 points. So the Lakers being 6-point underdogs, or I think that's where around it ended, they're basically implying they'd be 9-point underdogs on a neutral court, and then that actually, then if you flip it to Houston being home, it would actually jump to at least if I think I understand odds correctly, that would jump to like Houston being like a 12-point favorite. So I guess like technically they're lowering that a little bit, right? Because then if you think about minus 9.5 on a neutral court, it's like minus 6. Whereas again, I think they kind of had it on a neutral court minus 9. But still, I mean, that's very high for a team that's trailed for almost, like 15% of the first, or has trailed for 85% of the first 2 games and has led for 15% of the first 2 games. I know they're going to be at home, and I think they'll get likely one of the 2, but that's a pretty big line. All right, going to go 5 more minutes here, hit the 2-hour mark, and then I'll wrap. I will be back at 9 hours, by the way, for Lakers Collective. So if I seem a little sleepy in the morning, it's partly because of right now. Alfonso says that kind of late night, isn't it? That's what we do here. We go late or early, depending on where you are. See, Hans De Leon notes it's almost 5 in the afternoon, and Chaco Thunder says it's 5 there. So you guys are fortunate. I'm gonna be up a couple more hours. Any final questions before we wrap? Where's the balance now? You want LeBron to be the floor general in the playoffs. I mean, LeBron is arguably the greatest playoff floor general ever. And yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see how they navigate the roles and responsibilities. Isham God, Jovan, how far does JJ take the team pre-Luka trade? We're saying like last year's group. I think the issue with this theoretical game is that AD got hurt. So I know right now Luka and Austin are hurt and the Lakers are still thriving, but I think if we just play the game where you play the Minnesota series, but you don't have AD and you also obviously don't have Luka, but you do have Max Christie. You're basically swapping. You're effectively swapping Luka for Max Christie in the Minnesota series, and I think the Lakers lose that series. So I think JJ was becoming a good coach, and there were things to like, but at some point you need if we're looking at, let's just go through quickly the top 4 teams in each conference. Cade Cunningham, likely to finish 5th in MVP and first team All-NBA. Donovan Mitchell, likely to be a second team All-NBA guy. Jalen Brunson, also likely to be a second team All-NBA guy. Jaylen Brown, maybe he takes the Cade spot, but he's right there. First team, second team All-NBA, gonna get MVP votes. Shea, MVP frontrunner and first team All-NBA guy. Luka, probably gonna finish 4th in MVP, first team All-NBA guy. Jokic, I think will probably finish 2nd. Maybe he finishes 3rd in MVP, first team All-NBA guy, and then Wemby 2nd or 3rd in MVP, first team All-NBA guy. Like all the top 4 teams, and yes, there's some correlation of like team success with award success, but I mean, all of those guys are. I think you have the 4 best players in the West with the top 4 teams, and actually the 4 best players in the league with the top 4 teams, and all those teams or all those guys are the top 4 MVP guys. And then you go to the East, and it's like 4 of those top players are like, I think, top 12 players at least this season, and all going to be in that back end first or second team All-NBA mix. So point being, you need a top 10 guy to have a shot at a championship. And I mean, LeBron last year did finish 6th in, I voted for him 5th in MVP and first team All-NBA, finished 6th in both of those. But like LeBron was a top 10 player, going off of that. But I think obviously Luka coming in and his status as a top 3 guy, let's just say, like, I mean, that I think elevated what the Lakers were trying to do last year and what they're going to do in the future. So I think, I mean, again, if we're just playing it out, like Lakers have the same season, but AD was hurt at the time of the trade. He did come back and then get hurt again. I think with the Dallas situation, he tried to rush it back a little bit because of all the noise with the trade. Maybe in LA, he takes his time. So maybe he is able to return later in the season and be healthy. But if we're just kind of playing it out with how it actually played out, and it's like, okay, AD's out for a bit, comes back, gets re-injured, and now the Lakers don't have him in the playoffs. I mean, if you just swap Luka Doncic for Max Christie, I don't see how the Lakers have a more competitive series against Minnesota. MVP Prod, if the Rockets play a switchable 1 through 5 lineup, benching Şengün, especially in the fourth quarter, how should the Lakers attack that? I've thought about this would only be possible with KD back, and now KD is back. So I mean, we saw a little bit of this, like their final, I think the final defensive possession they played, or right before they fouled, they took Şengün out and went to this. I think about a game last year in March where they benched Şengün for the final 7 minutes of the game. And they did have Fred VanVleet out there, but it was Fred VanVleet and 4 other wings. They benched Green and Şengün. I think it was VanVleet, Brooks, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith, and Tari Eason. I think that was the 4, plus Fred VanVleet that they closed with. So I guess their version of this would be KD, Smith, Eason, Okogie, Thompson, right? Like that's probably the 5 guys you go with. You're not going with Reed Shepherd. That's giving the Lakers a target. I mean, the issue with that lineup is you're taking out your second best offensive player in Şengün, and you're taking out your, we'll say, second best shooter and give KD the nod as the best shooter, but maybe your best or second best ball handler, maybe second or third best passer and second best shooter in Shepherd. So it's just a lot of offense that's out, and it just becomes, can KD do something, which we've seen what that movies look like the last 3 times he's played the Lakers, or is Amen Thompson trying to get downhill like he hasn't really been? I mean, he didn't have the same type of offensive impact in this game. Then Jabari, Tari Eason, and Josh Okogie aren't really self-creating. So I know you're focusing more on the defense. I'm just kind of thinking through that lineup here and what that would be. In terms of how to attack it, I still think there are entry points. It just depends on who. Like I would like to leverage Luke's speed against maybe KD or Jabari and try to get that matchup, and then run Luke off of a pin down or a flare screen. I'd like to get LeBron in the post. I mean, LeBron honestly in the post against any of those guys, but I would probably put Eason and Okogie as like the 2 strongest guys in the lineup. So I'd want to attack one of the other 3 guys. If you have a big out there, because the Lakers closed with Ayton in that game where they went small, and tonight with Jackson, try to run some sort of pick and roll or stack action to get that player a lob opportunity or an opportunity in the paint. I think the worst thing the Lakers could do, and it has been a bad, the interesting thing with this is that this is actually the type of defense the Lakers struggle with, is if you can switch 1 through 5 and keep the ball in front. The Lakers have struggled with that all season, at least like relative to other coverages. They've also struggled with the blitzing, as we've seen with OKC and San Antonio and Phoenix. But this is this has been a Lakers issue for years, where when teams switch a lot, they just take a bunch of jumpers and don't create advantages consistently. So I think the worst thing they could do is just move the ball around the perimeter and take a bunch of contested jumpers and just turn it like mismatch hunting, but mismatch hunting from like a jumper perspective of like ISOs and just a bunch of pull up or fade away, turnaround jumpers, whatever. I think you have to try to get downhill, try to find the entry points, whether it's Luke off the move or whether it's LeBron in the post or whether it's one of the bigs. Maybe it is. They haven't really gone to Rui too much in the post. It's been a lot of him, like, the one dribble pull-ups but that could be a weapon depending on who's on him. I mean, I'm trying to think. Jabari and KD are big, and then I don't think he's necessarily going to like bully Okogie or Eason. So yeah, I think it's probably LeBron, Luke, and a center. I think those are the 3 ways to attack it. All right. I'm going to wrap here, though. I got one from Jack here, so I'll answer this one quickly. Hey, Jovan, appreciate you watching from Austria. Shout out to Austria. You've said you see LeBron taking on more and more of a scoring role as the series goes on. Will he have to have 25 or 30 in game 3 for a win? It's tough to know it's tough to, I'm obviously just predicting here, but it's tough to say without knowing, is it going to be more of that rock fight game or more of the higher scoring game, which I think there'll be one of each in Houston. But look, he had 28 tonight. It's not like he took 20 shots, got to the free throw line 14 times, had 28 points. So I think this is a good range for him. I think they're gonna need him consistently. Like, he had 19 in game 1, but he partly made up for being under 20 with the 13 assists. So I think it's kind of a balancing act of can he be 25 plus and then be in that 8 to 12 assist range. Like I think that's probably the 25 to 30 points, 8 to 10, 8 to 11 assists. I think that's a realistic statistical output for him. But yeah, I mean, I think he should be in the high teens, if not around 20 from a field goal perspective. Nice after only 2 free throws in game 1. Nice to see he got 14 in game 2. And yeah, I mean, I think 25 should ideally be his floor. I know Marcus and Luke are both playing well right now, but LeBron is LeBron. And I think like they have also benefited from the attention he's drawing and him playing out of the post and the elbows. So I think the Lakers need to continue to lean into that. I think one of the things that like he's only taken 7 threes. He's shooting 43%. He's made 3 for 7 on threes, but I also wonder if he starts to get the threes going, the jumper going a little bit. They tested it a little bit tonight and he made some jumpers. So I think that we can maybe see that, but I would say whichever one of the games ends up being the more high scoring game, which maybe like, I guess if I'm Houston, one of the things I'm thinking through is I do want to turn it maybe more into a track meet and get the tempo going a little bit quicker. It's kind of antithetical to how Houston has played throughout the course of the season, how KD wants to play. But I think if this is slowed down too much and it's just who can execute in the half court, I think the Lakers are going to walk them down game after game after game. So if I'm Houston, I kind of got to junk it up and change some things here. So maybe they go for the higher paced, higher scoring game in game 3 and LeBron does need to score more. But I would say it really depends on the game, right? So if it's a lower scoring game, I think LeBron can, there's fewer possessions. He doesn't have to score necessarily as much, but I think you need that because if we're just for argument's sake, let's just say like the 13 assists led to 26 points, even though several of those were threes. I don't have his total points generated in front of me. You do like 19 points plus 26 points off of assists. That is 45 points. Tonight, 28 points plus 14 points off of assists, which again, these are low numbers where you factor in threes, it's probably higher, but that's 42 points created. So in both games, he's been somewhere in like at least the low to mid 40s in terms of points generated. And it's probably closer to like high 40s, factoring in threes. So I think he just needs to be in like that general range of regardless of if it's points or assists, LeBron needs to be contributing to like 45 plus points for the Lakers. And I think if he does that, which is nearly half the offense right now, he does that, Lakers are in a good spot moving forward. But I'm going to wrap here. I have some exciting news that I have waited till the end. Nope, I got a super chat from Keon Park. We all know Jake, 2 years, $12 million was a bargain, and there weren't cheap forwards on the market last summer. But do you think he was worth it? If a trade is available, including Jake, should you trade Jake? I think he's been worth it, but I would say, because I also think an underrated part of Jake's season has been he played in every game, and I think that matters. He was the only Laker to play in every game. He's only the second Laker of the past 7 years to play in every game, joining Austin. So, I mean, if we look at his regular season, the shooting dipped a lot at just 32%, shot 46% overall, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, nearly a steal and a half in just 25 minutes. So I think the defense, the consistency, you're fitting into the Banshee. I mean, he was a Banshee for this group from an energy rebounding perspective. Like, I think he was close to worth the contract, but I do think I would have higher expectations for next year and expect a certain amount of growth, because I do think the one area he really underachieved was the shooting, and he was not brought in to be a 32% shooter. Like, I think he ended up taking on a larger defensive role than maybe the Lakers initially anticipated, but the flip side to that was he did not shoot the ball anywhere close to how he shot it last year or how the Lakers needed him to shoot it. So I would say, I think at most you could argue he was worth his contract. I don't think you could argue he was worth more than that. If you wanted to argue, like, I think he's better than a minimum player, but I mean, like, I don't know, is he worth maybe closer to what Marcus's contract was at like 5? Like, maybe you could argue that. And a minimum already is kind of at like 3.5. So it's not like much above that, but I think all things considered, given his availability and the defense, the effort, I think he was worth it. But I also think he ended up having a slightly different role and impact than the Lakers anticipated. I think they viewed him as like, you're not like below Marcus and Jake in the defensive pecking order, but also someone who could shoot much better and then play like a two-way wing role. And he had the games where he shot well. He had some big offensive performances, but they were few and far between. And there was a lot of shots not falling, confidence dropping, etc. So I would say you could argue he was worth it. You could argue maybe he was worth a little bit less. But I think for him to be worth it next year, he has to continue to grow and shoot the ball better. For a trade, I think it really just depends on what the move is. I don't think he should be untouchable. I wouldn't necessarily want to just like dump him. I think to me, he's more of like right now he's the seventh man on the Lakers. And I think that's partly just based on who's out. I think he's probably more of like a ninth guy in a rotation. But you could argue that, especially with JJ's lack of trust in Vando, he's almost become like their second most important perimeter defender sometimes. And I think that's a little bit maybe too big of a role for him right now, in addition to obviously the shooting. So I'd be open to it depending on the move. I wouldn't necessarily want to just dump him, if that makes sense. But I am going to officially wrap here. And exciting news is that I am finalizing the merch right now, and I've tested out a bunch of shirts, a bunch of sweatshirts, and I am now in the process of whittling it down to the exact brands and sizing I want to go with, and the exact designs. I was testing out a bunch of how big should this logo be? How big should this logo be? And I've been very meticulous with that. So I'm very excited to launch that. Would be great to launch it by Friday, but I would say if it's not launched by Friday, Monday or Tuesday. So it is coming, I would say definitely within the next week, it is going to be going live. So very excited about that. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to the late night gang, Keon Park, asking if I send internationally. Yes, it sends all over the globe. So you should be able to get it almost wherever you are. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to the late night gang. Lakers are up 2-0. They have a commanding 2-0 series lead. And I will repeat myself for like the fifth time. When a LeBron James-led team goes up 2-0, they are 32 and goes up with a 2-game lead in a series. They are 32-0. Great company. History is on the Lakers' side right now, and they're doing this, mind you, without Luka Doncic, without Austin Reaves. LeBron's been the best player in the series. Marcus Smart just had the Marcus Smart game. Luke Kennard's had the Luke Kennard game, and then followed it up with a pretty good game. Things are going great for the Lakers. They're in a great position and very excited for Game 3 on Friday. I'll be back tomorrow for 11 a.m. Lakers Collective, and then I'll be doing a rewatch. Might move my rewatch to Thursday, but I'm leaning Thursday for a couple of reasons. And then Thursday, I guess we'll do let's say rewatch Thursday. I'll lock that in. And then Friday, obviously Game 3, and might go live during the game. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. Might go live during the game. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to the late night gang. And I will talk to you all soon.